Freddie T makes it along one more step on the road to the Pro Football Hall of Fame as the Hall announced the cut down to 25 modern-era player semifinalists, and Fred Taylor is among them. Jimmy Smith is not among them. Well-deserving of a spot there, Tony. I don't know how long it will take for Jimmy to eventually even reach this stage in the process. You know, it does seem like with the exception of a few that ride that rocket ship from first year of eligibility, or, you know, they get in the first or second year, and it seems like, you know, a fait accompli. Like last year, we thought Antonio Gates was getting in. Didn't. You're going to have a lot of people expecting him to get in this time.
Yeah.
Right? Eli Manning, first year of eligibility, things like that. But anyway, condolences to Jimmy. Congrats to Fred and Torrey Holt, who spent the season here.
He did.
In Jacksonville. So, you know, we can get our second Jaguar in the Hall of Fame, and maybe our third as well. But it's interesting. I asked Dylan if he knew who Ricky Waters was. He really didn't. And I get it. Dylan's young, right? Like, if you would ask me when I was growing up about some guy who played, like, in the 60s. I
knew who he was. I just didn't know what era.
Right, what era. Like, you'd heard
80s,
the name,
90s,
right? But you couldn't necessarily put it into context. I every time his name comes up, one of the most amazing people that I got to meet on Radio Row. We got to meet on Radio Row. Mm-hmm. You know, just a super dude. You know, lost either a child in to a miscarriage or in infancy, and just really talked about how it impacted his life. Anyway, it really, you know, we get these impressions of these guys. Ricky Waters, for some people, is alligator arms, because there's a play, I think he was with Philadelphia, Tone, where the ball was coming across the middle, and he made a business decision on one. And that one will stick with you sometimes in people's minds. You know, Ricky Waters is a hell of a player, put up big numbers in his career. Hey, that doesn't mean I put him in ahead of Freddie T. I love Freddie T. But you got Anquan Bolden, Torrey Holt, Steve Smith Sr., Hines Ward, Reggie Wayne. At least one of those receivers is getting in, you would think,
sure,
right? Reggie Wayne, maybe the most likely.
It's his sixth time as a semifinalist.
Okay. Eli getting in?
I would think.
I would think, right? We're just guessing. Antonio Gates, pretty good chance.
Yep.
Who knows how they feel about these offensive linemen and how they decide between them? Willie Anderson, Jari Evans, Richmond Webb, Steve Wisniewski, and Marshall Yonda. I don't know. You know, you got me.
Yeah.
Defensive backs Eric Allen, Rodney Harrison, Earl Thomas, Darren Woodson all make it. James Harrison, Luke Kuechly, and Terrell Suggs at linebacker. None of those would surprise me if they got in. Any one of those three. I don't expect necessarily two from a position group, but it could happen. On the defensive line, you got Jared Allen, Robert Mathis, Vince Wilfork, and you got Adam Vinatieri.
Yeah.
Who's the most decorated kicker in NFL history, would you say?
When you get down to the list of 25, you're going to take 5 of them in, and the other 20 guys are all deserving of being in the Hall of Fame, right? Like at some point, at this point, when you get to this point in the process, you're not going to have anybody on the list that you're like, that's ludicrous that you would be considering this guy for a finalist in the Hall of Fame. All of them are going to be guys, their resumes are what they are. You know, at this point in time, I think Fred's is as strong as anybody's, right? And I hope that it happens for him soon. But I think when you're in a room with 24 other guys, that all of them feel that way about the resumes that they're going to present when they get presented to the room. So it's a really difficult part of the process. We've seen it on the offensive line. Big Bo it was a number of years where it's like, well, they're going to let one of them in, and then we'll see who gets in next year, right? It's almost the way they treated it. It does feel like the offensive line may be hitting another one of those kind of beaver dams when it comes to guys getting into, the Hall of Fame. I don't know what'll happen for Fred. It certainly feels like it's going to happen sometime soon for Fred Taylor.
He keeps making it to this point, right? And that's
6
part
times
of it.
now he's been to this point in the process. Eventually, guys who get to that kind of spot, it comes through for them at some point in time. I can understand people that would say Eli Manning's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, right? I can understand that being part of the process with Eli.
Sure.
Right at this point. So maybe it's next year that he actually gets into the Hall of Fame, but I wouldn't be surprised either way with him.
Well, look, I wouldn't. I guess I understand what you're saying, but like it just goes to show you how much championships are valued. I mean, Eli was a stat compiler. Doubt. I never felt he was one of the handful of best quarterbacks in the league, but he had 2 great postseason runs, and he and Tom Coughlin together, don't forget, plus their teammates, were able to take down the Bill Belichick, Tom Brady-led New England Patriots twice.
Yeah.
In that heyday of when they were a 20-year dynasty, basically. And, so that's his big calling card. Had the Jags gotten the Super Bowl in 99, Fred might be in. Had they won it in 99, I'm convinced he would be in already. And maybe Jimmy Smith would be further along in this process as well at this point in time.
Yeah, look, no doubt about it. We're frustrated with it with Fred, right? That this is the 6th time he's been a semifinalist. We'll see what happens for him this year. This is 11 times for Torrey Holt that he's been a semifinalist. This is
That's a lot.
Hines Ward, this is the 9th time he's been a semifinalist for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Like, there are guys that have been waiting longer that have gotten to this point in the process a lot, right? And it did feel there were guys who got Andre Johnson, different guys have gotten in the last couple of years. It does feel like there are a handful of guys that were just waiting for their turn in line, essentially, to get into the Hall of Fame. It's a little silly that I think the process works this way sometimes, but it just does. Like, guys just have to wait in line. Torrey Holt certainly feels like a Hall of Fame wide receiver to me, but he said this will be 11 times.
Right.
That he's had to deal with it to this point, and every year he's probably felt like, yeah, this will be there it goes.
Look, and people would say, Ricky Waters can't hold Fred Taylor's jock. And look, we're going to always support Fred. Fred's 4.6
100%.
yards per carry stands out as a statistic that is mind-boggling, at that point in time in NFL history, right?
Yeah.
Things change as you go along. Ricky Waters doesn't have that, but he has more total yards from scrimmage than Fred Taylor. And has scored more touchdowns, I believe. I know he scored more rushing touchdowns than Freddie T. I'm not making the case for Ricky Waters over Fred. I'm just saying everyone comes at it from their own perspective. We go, clearly Fred's a better guy. I'm sure the Ricky Waters proponents are like, well, wait a minute now. Why exactly is that,
Well, when they're going to look at stats and say, well, Ricky was a 5-time Pro Bowler and won a Super Bowl.
Right.
Right? And those, for the Hall of Fame, whether you agree with it or not, those kind of things are counting stats for the Hall of Fame. I don't think Fred needs all that to be a Hall of Famer.
No, I don't either.
But for some people, that matters more.
Look, Freddie is a Hall of Famer. He just hasn't been recognized as such
100%.
officially at this point in time. So we'll see where it goes. We just wanted to, look, we get it, man. You're steeped in negativity right now, and with good reason.
Hey, Mia here, and thanks so much for watching 1010XL Jaguars. For even more coverage of the Big Cats, be sure to subscribe to 1010XL Jaguars.